Boy, that was quick. You guys must have had a rough night. All right, welcome to the second keynote. We are absolutely thrilled to have Deputy Assistant Chief Lillian Bonsignore here today. But before we get started, I have to do the proverbial reading of the credits, or Candace will have my head. She's sitting over there. Okay, on behalf of the New Jersey Office of Emergency Medical Services, we welcome you to the National Conference on EMS. Please be advised that this session has not been awarded nursing or public health credits. Lillian Bonsignore will provide you with a brief bio, disclose any conflicts of interest, learning goals and objectives for this presentation. This activity has been planned and implemented in accordance with the accreditation requirements and policies of the Accreditation Council for Continuing Medical Education through the New Jersey Academy of Family Physicians. The New Jersey Academy of Family Physicians is accredited by the ACCME to provide continuing medical education for physicians. The New Jersey Academy of Family Physicians designates this live activity for 1.5 AMA PRA Category 1 credits. Physicians should claim only credit commensurate with the extent of their participation in the activity. Requirements for successful completion of today's program include presence at the entire session from start to finish, not missing more than 10 minutes, participation in all learning activities. Your ID must be scanned by the session moderator. You must complete all session evaluation forms electronically. After completion, you will be provided a link to view and print your conference certificate. Again, no public health, no nursing credits. So for all of you in the room, this is being streamed live. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Lillian Bonsignore, Deputy Assistant Chief, also the Chief of the EMS Academy from FDNY, talking about Women Stand Up to Lead.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much, and thank you mostly for waking up. This is Atlantic City, so 11 o'clock, that's a stretch. So thank you for that. Before we get started, and thank you for having me here, and a great introduction. Before we get started, I'm just going to go through a couple of disclosures. So Lillian Bonsignore, that's me. I am the Chief of EMS Academy at the FDNY in New York. I am one of two now, two-star chiefs in the fire department that are female. I was the only one up until a couple weeks ago, so we're making some progress. We're up to two. I have no financial conflicts of interest to disclose relevant to this activity. I'm not being paid for this. I'm happy to be here. I'm not representing any specific products or services. And even though I'm in uniform, this is not an FDNY presentation. It's not meant to represent FDNY opinion or positions. They did allow for me to come here, and they also encouraged me to come here because we're always happy to be able to talk to people. So this is really based on my experiences, my observations. I'm not coming at you from a perspective of an expert. The only thing I can share with you is all the things that I've experienced moving through the ranks over the last 27 years. So I'm about to approach my 28th year in the fire department. I plan to stay another 14 or 15. No? It actually is not a joke. They're probably going to pull me out of there, kicking and screaming. But more importantly, I'm not a professional speaker. So what does that mean? I am the chief of the EMS Academy, so I'm used to speaking to people there. But I'm not normally up here on stage talking to such an amazing group of people in a terrific EMS conference, so I'm happy to be here. You may or may not agree with some of the things that I talk about. You're absolutely welcome to have a different opinion, a different thought about things as you analyze my words through your own lens. You may just see things differently, and that's okay. What I do ask is that we respect each other's perspective and that we at least try to see things from a different lens. So even if you don't agree, if you would just open your mind, just think about some of the things we're going to talk about, and maybe you leave here, challenging or at least reconsidering your own positions. And maybe I do. I don't know. All right, so again, I'm not speaking from the perspective of an expert. I am speaking mom to mom, sister to sister, woman to woman, woman to man. We're speaking as humans here. We're speaking as people here. So people who have lots of things that are in common. Our objectives for today, we're going to list the challenges that commonly experienced by women in the workplace. We're going to describe some of the tactics that can be used to overcome that challenge, or those challenges. And by the end of this session, you should also be able to define and apply the acronym STAND UP. So here we go. So as you heard in the introduction, I am a Deputy Assistant Chief in the Fire Department in New York City. I'm also a paramedic and an EMS instructor for many years. I was invited here to talk about women in leadership, which is very cool because there really aren't very many, particularly in these types of professions. So I relish the opportunity to come here. To be completely honest, I'm not even 100% sure how I got here. So I received an invitation based on some recommendations, and I was super excited about it. And of course, that's why I'm here. So even though I said I'm not a professional speaker, I don't want you to think, oh, come on, it's an hour and a half, I won't get back, right? Because I am professional most of the time, and I can speak, so there you go, right? I guess I'm officially a professional speaker. And you are in Atlantic City. How bad could it be? This is like a timeshare presentation. You sat through that, right? So you can handle this. It's an hour and a half, right? So we're not alone in this room, although it seems that we are. This is being live streamed. So hello to everybody who's joining us from home or your computers. Don't watch and drive, please. Very dangerous. Pull over. It's going to be very cool. So how do we move on from here? Well, I'm not going to lie. I was a little bit nervous about coming here today because, like I said, this is not something I normally do. But then when I realized and I thought about it, and I thought, wait a minute, I'm going to be talking to a room full of first responders, nurses, doctors. These are my people. Like, how could I be nervous about talking to the same people that I would sit next to in any professional environment? How could I be nervous about that? People who come to EMS professions, people who come to first responder professions, nurses, doctors, things of that sort, these are folks who are completely willing to put everything on the line for a stranger. These are people who are dedicated to serving others. There's no way I could be nervous about that. I am in my element when I am with you, right? So that's what kind of convinced me to come here and take on this challenge. I'm very happy about that because we're gonna be able to talk the same language, I hope. When I mean talk the same language, I do have to give you an additional disclosure and tell you that I am from the Bronx. So yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. So there are going to be some language barriers. Just feel free to work through those. We can discuss them at the end, okay? So just bear with me when it comes to that. So thank you for being those people, and thank you for making me feel safe enough to come in here. So for the next hour, I don't want you to think of this as a presentation. I want you to jump on the bus and go on a run with me. I want to be sitting right next to you when we're talking. And most of you know what that's like. Whether you're sitting in a truck, you're sitting in an ambulance, you're sitting at a nurse's station, you're sitting in an emergency room or a hospital or wherever you happen to do that, healthcare providers always come together and talk about really serious things. So today, that's what I want you to kind of think about, all right? It's me and you. We're sitting in a truck together. We're having a conversation about experiences. And I hope that you're going to be able to share some of those experiences with me. And I hope you're going to understand some of the things that I've gone through as well. But before we do any of that, I know that we have that in common, that we are the same people, that we are willing to go out there and help people who we don't even know. But I think we have more in common than that. So I just want you to work with me. Everybody willing to work with me for a moment. I'm going to ask you to do a little exercise. Clearly it won't be push-ups, right? So it's not that kind of exercise. But I'm going to ask you to just work with me. I just want to take a poll and see where we're at with something. So if you wouldn't mind, just follow directions. Please stand up and remain standing if you have a daughter. If you have a daughter. Okay? Stay standing, please. Stand up, remain standing if you have a wife, a girlfriend. More than one girlfriend. Okay. A sister. A niece. A mother. Gotcha. All right. Now I want you to look around this room. Just look around. This is what you don't have any of those. If you have female friends. Okay. I want you to look around this room. This is another thing that we have in common. Now, if you would do just about anything in your power to keep those women that you just stood up for safe, healthy, and successful, I want you to clap your hands as loud as you can. All right. All right, thank you very much. I knew it. I was willing to bet money on this. Take your seats. I knew that we had more in common than just the fact that we love to care for other people. The people that we have in our lives are also people that we care for. And we would do just about anything to take those women and keep them healthy, safe, and successful in their lives. So when I asked that we're going to be sitting next to each other on a truck for an hour, that's what I want you to think about. Back row. So be careful. All right. So who am I? I'm all of these people that you just stood up for. I'm every one of these people. I'm a mom. I'm a sister. I'm a spouse. I'm a co-worker. I'm a boss. I'm all of these things. So we have to appreciate that there's more to it than just that. But more importantly, I'm you. I'm the same person you are, with the same concerns, the same challenges, the same ideas about things. So we're just people trying to make it in this world. We've chosen a profession of service, which is, you ask me, an amazing, amazing gift, right? To be able to put it on the line for a stranger, it does not get better than that. So we have chosen this profession. We have chosen to do these things. And all of us are just trying to make it most of the time, right? We're just trying to get through life, be healthy, be safe, be successful, and keep our family members there as well. Now, we have good days, and we have bad days. Do you agree? Who has more good days than bad days? Another thing we have in common, right? Most of the time, things are pretty good. There's always going to be those challenges. There's always going to be those days where things are harder than you hoped they'd be. But you can always be assured that something good will follow, hopefully quickly, right? You don't have to go through that too long. But we have good days and bad days. This right here, that was a great day. That was a super great day. I was so excited. I started my career as an EMT in 1989. I got certified in a little company and worked for a little company in the Bronx. Shocking, right? Us Bronx people don't go very far. Westchester is the country. So in 1989, I was certified as an EMT. I worked a couple of years for Approved Ambulance. I don't know if anybody remembers Approved Ambulance, but that was a long time ago. 2 years later, I was hired by New York City EMS. Now, when I came into this, it's because I had a great love for medicine. And my goal was to really become a doctor. That's where I wanted to go. I was all in. I was going pre-med. So EMS was really more like a summer job for me. So I figured, okay, this is really cool. I can make some money doing this. I get to drive around in lights and sirens. That's really awesome. I get to help people we'll do this, and then I'll go off to school. The problem is, once I left the EMS Academy and got sent to the South Bronx, where I ended up working for several years, I fell in love. And it wasn't with North Korea. It was not. I fell in love. I fell in love with EMS. I fell in love with the idea of showing up at somebody's worst moment and being able to help them. I fell in love with it. And what happened as a result of that is that I ended up working the longest summer job of my life. It's almost 28 years that I've been at this summer job. And I love it today as much as I did the very first day that I came into this. Now, sometimes people are a little embarrassed to say that. I'm not. I'm definitely not embarrassed to say that. On March 1st or so, in 2016, I was a deputy chief. And as a deputy chief in a department, we take turns covering the shift on the overnights. So basically, there's a couple of us. We're in charge of all of New York City, 5 boroughs. So that's nice, except for my body doesn't really appreciate being up overnight. I don't know about yours, but particularly when you work on a day tour, trying to keep yourself awake on the overnights for 4 days in a row is not an easy task. But, you know, being in charge of a city is a pretty big responsibility. So I did the best I can. On March 1st, it was my 3rd night on. So if you don't know what it is to try to stay up overnight on one night, try doing it 3 nights in a row. By the 3rd night, I could think of nothing but going home in the morning and going to sleep. But I got a phone call, and that phone call said, you need to be up at headquarters at 7 a.m. to meet with the chief of EMS. I thought, oh boy, right, this can't be good, right, because he doesn't even come to work till 8. So why do I need to be there at 7? Is it the plastic covering that they have to set up on the floor? Am I going to help with all that, right? So, of course, I follow direction. I go to headquarters. I'm exhausted, but nervous, which is good because it kept me awake. So I'm sitting in a chair waiting for everybody to show up because clearly I'm the only one there at 7. So in comes, right around 8 o'clock, comes the 2-star chief from operations. Good morning. Nothing. In comes the 3-star chief from operations. Hi. Nothing. In comes the 4-star chief. That is the chief of EMS. We only have one of those. Come in, and by then I'm already ready to cry. So he calls me inside. All 3 of them are there. Nobody is making a sound. So I'm just looking at them saying, oh God, I'm going through everything. What did I do? What did I say? I'm sure it was a Bronx misunderstanding. It had to be a language barrier. It could not have been on purpose. And I'm waiting and I'm waiting. And finally, my heart is beating so fast. And then one of them cracked a smile. And I'm happy about that. I'm like, okay, all right, funny, right? Things are funny. This is good. And they told me the most amazing thing. And that amazing thing was that I was going to get promoted to Deputy Assistant Chief. Now, at that time, there were only 5 slots for Deputy Assistant Chief, and they were filled. There was 1 open slot, and that slot was going to become mine. I wasn't the first female to ever make it, because that 2-star chief that came in first was also a female, and she was the first female in the fire department to ever make it to 2-star rank, which is Deputy Assistant Chief. So she was amazing. So even the thought that they were going to compare me or put me in the same bucket as her, I was like, whoa, right? I have made it. That's it. I'm there. So they told me I was getting promoted. It was actually one of the best days of my life. I was so excited. Excited like when you see your baby girl like at her first dance recital, and there are 34-year-olds, and you know for a fact that yours was the best, right? That kind of excited. Like when you see your child walk across that stage with cap and gown, and you think, we made it? That kind of excited. That's how excited I was. I could not wait to tell my family. I was so thrilled. Now, I had been involved in training since 1996. So when I came on in 1991 to the city, we were New York City EMS. And March 17th, I remember it because it's St. Patty's Day, and I like potatoes, right? I look forward to it, right? Because St. Patty's Day, you get all the, okay. Well, you know what I'm talking about. We're all in the same boat. We all like food, right? I get sidetracked sometimes. But so it was St. Patty's Day in 1996. The fire department and New York City EMS merged. It was like one of those awkward dances that you do at, your first party where you're like dancing with somebody else for the first time. And it looks kind of like this, right? It wasn't the smoothest thing we've ever seen, but we did become part of the fire department. And over the years, this has gotten a whole lot easier. And I'm proud to say that we are at a point where we are one department. We're making a lot of progress in the EMS arena. Everybody really is, understanding what our mission is, and we're working together. It's been a long time. But now I became part of the fire department, and that was pretty cool in 1996. In 1996, 97, I became an instructor, and we were teaching CFR, and CFR is our Certified First Responder, to all our firemen, because now that's the hug, right? Now we're all one department. Everybody's going to pitch in for patient care, and I became an instructor back then, and I remained an instructor all the way through. So becoming the chief of EMS Academy could not get better. This was where my passion was, training. I absolutely loved it. So from 96 until now, I've always had a foot in that door one way or another. So listen, when that time came to tell my family that I was getting promoted, I couldn't wait to get home. The promotion ceremony was 2 weeks later, so I had to wait 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure I walked around like this, right? Yep, for an entire 2 weeks, right? DAC Bonsignore at your service, right? I was very excited about that. I was so proud, and when we got to the promotion ceremony, all the people that really supported me throughout my life, all those people who cared that much about me were there. So it was almost time to swear in, and then I looked out into the audience, and I see them all sitting there, and I think, wow, the reality is I didn't get here by myself, right? My journey to this amazing role in this leadership of the FDNY started way back when I was a kid. All of these people that were there for me in the audience were just as proud of me as I was of myself, and just as proud of me as I was grateful of them. Those are the people that got me to the place that I'm at. And it was really that eye-opening experience while I was sitting there waiting to swear in. And if you've never sworn in before, it's a nerve-wracking experience because you have to follow the words of the commissioner. And when you're trying to swear in, you're thinking, what is he going to say next? But while you're thinking, what is he going to say next, he's actually already said it. So you have to keep your brain in the game so that you don't end up saying silly stuff, right? So it's really a nerve-wracking experience. But I realized that the accomplishment was not only mine. The accomplishment belonged to all those people who were sitting there ready to cheer me on. The lessons that I learned through the years were sometimes difficult, very often painful, but they all helped me grow. And that's really what it's about. I think without having difficult situations, it's hard to really find yourself in a place where you're secure. So as difficult as things could have been, I'm grateful for those experiences. This day came, so I'm ready to now swear in, and I'm ready, and I'm listening, ready to go. And then I look at everybody, and they're smiling back at me, and I realize those people that I just told you about who really took everything they could to come cheer me on were people that I had met throughout my life. Back when I was a kid, there were 3 women that I came across in my teenage years. One was a doctor. That's Stacy in the middle, the one standing with the black and white right next to me. One was an educator, which is Naomi. She's standing on the other side of Stacy. And one was a teenager who was just a couple years older than me, Yolanda. She became my best friend. Those women, for some strange reason, saw a broken kid and took hold. Why? I don't know, because none of them knew each other. But every single one of these women found me, took an interest, and did everything they can to help me build myself up over the years. They never let go. The day I swore in, 32 years had passed, and they were still standing right next to me. They were still the ones supporting everything that I was doing in my life. Why did they do this? There was nothing in it for them. They didn't have to do anything. There was nothing that they would gain out of this. This was all about taking a kid who's a young girl who has some enthusiasm but has a lot more issues and turning direction for that person. And then making sure that whenever she started to falter, one of them were there to pick me up, brush me off, kick me in the pants, and keep me moving. Why? That's the question I want you to think about. You stood up for girls in your lives. Why do certain things happen for some and not for others? I owe these women my career. Ever since I met them, I've been surrounded by strong, powerful, loving, supportive women. And that is the reason why I stand in front of you today. Because without any of that, I would not be here. So for them, I would, do just about anything, like you said, to keep them safe, healthy, and successful. If they pick up the phone, I am there, no question. This is what it's about. It's about how do we get each other through this crazy life. Every leadership class that I've taken has taught you how to be a leader once you get there. We're not going to talk about that today. I hope you don't mind. You could probably write the book. We're going to talk about how do you get a young girl or a young boy to find themselves in a position where they feel they are worthy of becoming a leader. How does that come together? We're going to take leadership and we're going to turn it inside out. So if you're here to find out how to communicate with your subordinates, this is not the place for you. You should probably grab a couple of quarters. Is it still a quarter? Is it all dollars now? Right? Go on out there and ka-ching yourself to richness. But today, we're going to talk about how little girls grow up, because how they grow up really depends on what they've learned about themselves and others throughout their developmental stage, right? So how they enter the workforce really is a culmination of a lot of different factors. Do they know that they're strong by the time they get here? Do they know how to love? Do they know that they can be honest and speak up? Can they trust by the time they've reached adulthood? Can they navigate the challenges that are put in front of them? Do they have confidence in their own abilities? These are the things that go into a female finding themselves in leadership positions. All of these things are important. So we're going to try to at least take a look at those things. And you think about what your girls have experienced. Because we really can't talk about women in leadership unless we talk about how kids get there, how children become adults, how adults find themselves in the workforce, and how those adults find leadership positions. Cannot do it. So, again, I'm no expert. There's no book with my name on it. but I need you to sit next to me on this trip and think about it. And certainly, if there's anything that you want to add, feel free to do that. Just feel free, because, you know, we've already established we're the same people. And it really is about leaving here thinking maybe a little bit differently. So if you have something to offer that's going to be a benefit or contribute to development of young women, you feel free to jump right in. Let's take a look at some of these common gender stereotypes. So remember we talked, we were going to go backwards for a little while and see how things happen. So here are some common things. I'd find it really hard to believe that there's not somebody in this room who was brought up believing that these are real. Has anybody not been brought up to believe that some of these things exist? Anybody not brought up that way? I don't think so. I'd find it harder to believe that the people in this room don't still believe that these things are real. Now, I'm not saying that they're not. I'm not saying that some of these characteristics, descriptions are not true. I'm just saying that they're not true for everybody. They're not true for everybody, even if they're the same gender. Let's look at some of these things. I mean, look at this list. Women, not aggressive. I didn't write it. Men, very aggressive. Women, dependent. I mean, I did bring Bruce. I am dependent on Bruce, to be honest. Men, independent. Women, easily influenced. Aw, we're so soft and sweet. Men, not easily influenced. Women, submissive. Men, dominant, right? Passive women, active men. Easily hurt emotionally. I could tell you from experience that very often I am the least sensitive person in a room. So, maybe it's the haircut. I don't know. Not 100% sure. But men, not easily hurt emotionally. Women, indecisive, talkative, gentle, cries a lot. Verbal, they're kind, tactful, and nurturing. Men, not so much. Right? Not so much. They're worldly, not easily hurt, decisive. They know what they want and how to get it. Not at all talkative. Again, I disagree. They're tough. They rarely cry. They're logical. They're analytical. They're cruel. They're blunt. They're not nurturing. Now, I would argue that these stereotypes are not only bad for women, but they're also bad for men. What man wants to be deemed cruel? Right? Come here, you sweet little guy. Mommy's going to teach you how to be cruel. Because you're a real man. Right? Or not nurturing. What is this about? But every one of us believe that this is something we grew up with. And that this is something that still exists. Well, don't you find it surprising that women grow up to believe they're not capable of these high-level situations, these high-level jobs or positions, when they've been brought up to believe that they're submissive, that they're passive, that they're not as smart, not as fast, not as capable? Doesn't that make sense? That by the time they get to adulthood, they already know they're going to be great entry-level workers. And every once in a while, we should bring cookies, because men love cookies. Right? So, I mean, it's almost crazy to believe, but this is what happens. Now, for men, the stereotypes are just as dangerous. If we have a man who is a single father, we're ready to throw him a party and a parade, right? Look at you, how you stepped up to care for the children. Well, they're your children, right? Like, you can't babysit your own kids. They're yours. So we're like, look at you, what a great thing. And it is a great thing. But if a man chooses to stay home and be a stay-home father in a married or partner relationship, then we look at him like, what is wrong with you? Right? What is wrong with you? You don't want to work like a real man? What do you mean you stay home and cook and clean? Right? That is not fair. It's not fair to the men who choose to be caretakers. It's not fair to the men who choose to be more nurturing or to be more loving or to be less cruel. It's not fair. If women are single parents, we think, wonder who they screwed over, right? What did you do to chase them away, right? Like, if women choose to be women who work, then there are biases against people who choose to work for a living. If women choose to be stay-home moms, which is one of the hardest jobs I've ever seen, then we judge them for that. The problem is there's a lot of judging and not a lot of doing. We have to start looking ourselves in the eye and looking in the mirror. We have to start thinking, what message am I sending? Because if we believe these things, then so will our children. And when our children grow up to be these people who we speak about today, then who's going to take responsibility for that? Right? So we have to just start thinking about this just a little differently. Not everybody is the same, despite their genders. Messages like boys are dominant, girls are submissive. Boys are leaders, girls are bossy. Boys are tough and girls aren't. They're gentle. Boys are logical, girls are emotional. These things are harmful to the children growing up. No good, if you ask me. And it's hard to undo these things, but it's not impossible. If you've grown up with these stereotypes to believe that as a woman you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, fast enough, strong enough, capable enough, that can change. And it can change because other people around you hold on and they don't let go. That's how it changed for me. Other women, strong, loving, supportive strangers, changed the whole course of my life because they saw something, they believed it, and they helped me find the belief. They helped me find my voice. They helped me figure out who I was. So it can change, but we have to do it on purpose, right? We have to start thinking, how can we take this situation and turn it into something better? It can happen. I'm a picture of it. Now, there's other things that go on besides these stereotypes. Little girls grow up believing certain things. That's me. I was a looker. So I was 8 years old. I was 8 years old there. It was the 70s, so don't judge. Growing up, I learned a lot of things, a lot of lessons, as all kids do. Kids interpret and apply the messages that are attached to everyday situations, their interactions, their behaviors. We learn all these things growing up. They're like little sponges, right? We've heard that before. Kids are like little sponges, but they never know how to use one, right? So they take in everything. They learn everything. They're so good at it. By the time you're my age, your sponge is so saturated, it doesn't hold anything else. In fact, you stop keeping things in and you start letting things out, right? But in the beginning, you have a nice sponge. It's taking everything in. They're able to absorb. In their early stages, who are they learning from? They're learning from their parents, their caretakers, their siblings, their family members. They're learning what love looks like. They're learning what trust looks like. They're learning what appropriate behavior looks like. They're learning all of these things as they start to grow. They pick up cues on what's normal, what's right or wrong. Once they go to school, all hell breaks loose. The control we have as far as their education, their learning, goes awry. because they're exposed to a lot of different other things. They learn from their friends. They learn from their teachers. They learn from strangers. They learn from all the things around them. Today, we face even bigger challenges. They learn from television. They learn from social media. Like, what 6-year-old doesn't have a smartphone right now? Does yours? Because an emergency could happen, and you need to call mommy or daddy, right? That's how we think. Kids have cell phones at a much younger age, which means they're exposed to things that you hope they're not exposed to, but we have no real way of knowing. We have no real way of knowing if the person they're talking to is a friend or a 40-year-old. We have no real way of knowing what influences are coming around them, what they're starting to perceive as normal. So it's important that we stay on top of these things. It's important that we pay attention. I know for sure what I learned is my mother had terrible fashion sense. I learned that. I knew I'd be fashionably challenged, which makes me so grateful I found a uniform job. I have 5 of everything, and they come as A, B, and then C in the winters, right? Very, very simple to do. You can't mess that up. I have 2 years in a row school pictures with that getup on. Who does that? I started to believe this was done on purpose. It didn't make sense. Sometimes parents don't think things through. Sometimes. Clearly, that was one of those times. So what do little girls learn? Well, they learn a lot. They learn appearance and how important it is. They learn what strength looks like and whether they have it. They develop abilities and learn about what they can and cannot do. They learn what trust looks like and how it feels internally, and how you can either rely on it or not. And they learn about the value that they hold in the world around them. These are the lessons that they take into adulthood. When they show up, their baggage is full. So how do we either unpack that or buy them new clothes? So now I want you to think about those girls. Remember, we're on a ride together. I want you to think about this. Those women, those girls that you stood up for. I already know that you would do just about anything. You told me yourself. Just about anything to keep them safe, healthy, and successful. Is it possible that the messages that they're getting is coming from us? Is it possible that the messages that they're getting is coming from you? Is it possible? And if it is possible, can you change it? Because I think we can. I think if we just take a really good look at ourselves and say, you know what, you're absolutely right. These gender stereotypes exist because this is what we learned. And I am now putting those on my own child. Or I'm holding my son to this. I'm holding my daughter to the same kind of stereotypes. If you can look at it honestly, then we have the ability to change it. If we're not willing to look at ourselves or the people around us, there's no chance we're going to make this better. So I would say let's think about this when we move forward. Have an open mind. I think it'll be worth it. Words matter. Statements that place an emphasis on appearance can create some real insecurities, especially in young girls. In all of my years, I have never met a woman that doesn't have some insecurity about her own appearance, including me. I have many. The higher you go, the more you don't care. Right? But I have many, many insecurities about my own appearance because I've been brought up that way, to believe that pretty is better. Words matter. Thin is beautiful. Words matter. Even if we're saying things in a complimentary way, those things can create havoc in a young girl's mind. It may also create a situation where a young woman seeks compliments in order to be reassured by men, by other women, by family, that they second guess their own thoughts, and they need somebody to tell them that they're good. That's what we need to move away from. If we say things, very, very benign things, like, if you put your hair up, you'll look pretty. How many times did I hear that? Clearly not during the other time. My hair was short. You see where I went back to. If you put your hair up, you'll look pretty. If you just put this dress on, don't you want to look pretty? You don't want to be fat, do you? You're going to eat that, you're going to get fat. Right? Boys like pretty girls. Those boys are going to really like you. You're going to be a heartbreaker when you're older. Haven't you ever heard that? To a young girl, you're going to be a heartbreaker. Huh? That's scary. Like, why are you thinking about this kid like that? Right? I have a place you need to go and talk to somebody. Right? But those type of things stick. You're beautiful. You look like a Barbie doll. They stick. They create insecurities. They allow young girls to believe that they were not pretty enough if their hair wasn't up. If they didn't have a dress on, they weren't pretty. If they didn't look thin like a Barbie doll, they weren't good enough. They have to do more. More so that other people can judge them and tell them that they're okay. Very benign words, very benign statements can really spiral these kids. Television and social media also play a large role in setting the stage for what is and what is not beautiful. The older the girls get, the more of an impact this has. Strength. What do they know about that? What do they know about strength? Do they know that boys are stronger and faster than girls? Do they know that girls need boys to protect them? I was 10 years old. It was cold out. It was October. Halloween, to be exact. I was so excited because on Halloween, you could be anyone you want to. So here I go. Let's get it on, right? So Halloween, I got my costume on. My mother's a little mad at me because it's cold. That's back in the days when October was cold. Lots of things have changed since then, right? We're still in shorts and flip-flops most times in October, but you remember Halloweens when it was cold and you'd be mad that you have to put your jacket on over your costume because how are they going to see you with your jacket on? Well, this was one of those days. So I had my costume ready to go. And I did not want to wear a jacket because you lose the effect. So I negotiated sweaters. So I was able to wear sweaters underneath my costume that year, which really, really helped me. Because that year, I got to be who I truly, truly was, Superman. And those sweaters, man, did they look like muscles? Right? I was ready. I had my costume. I'm good. So here we go. I'm the oldest of four. My other siblings don't look half as real as I do. We get our little plastic bag. That's what you call a pumpkin in the Bronx. We get our plastic bag. We go out there. We're going to hit the neighborhood. Stay away from the place they put razor blades in the apples. Stay out of that place. Right? We're going to go trick-or-treating. Get on out there. We get out there. We got a pretty good collection of candy that will probably be all thrown away by my mother by the end of the day. She'll secretly open that bag that wasn't touched and replace it all. And it's the end of the night, and I knew that my grandma's house was the last stop of the day, so I couldn't wait because I was her favorite. I was her favorite, and everybody knew it. Everybody. And those who didn't know it, I made sure they knew it. I reminded them all the time that Grandma loves me more than you. Okay? So here we go. I just was so excited. I wanted to run to my grandmother's house because how cool is this going to be when she finds out her most favorite granddaughter is really Superman? She's going to love it. So I can't wait to go. So we get there. I straighten out my uniform, my costume, straighten out my mask because those were the days where you had those mask that you would get hit by a car, right? Because you had two little eye slits in it. Right? So I straighten down my mask, stand in front of the door, ready to go. Superman is here. Knock on the door. She opens it. I go, trick or treat. Throw some candy in my bag and closes the door. And I went, hey, Grandma, it's me. It's me. And she opens the door and she goes, girls can't be Superman. Why are you dressed like a boy? Yeah, girls can't be Superman. Crushed. I was crushed. My own grandmother, like kryptonite. Right? How could you? I'm your granddaughter. I'm Superman. How could you? Girls can't be Superman. Yeah. What was I supposed to be? Wonder Woman? It was October. It was cold. Where did my sweaters go? How can you fight crime in that getup, in those high heels? Yes, I'm here to protect you. Huh? I was 10. Is that what I'm supposed to look like? Am I only qualified to be half naked and have some high heel boots on? Do you think a woman designed this outfit? I don't think so either. I'm not 100% sure, but some things you just know. I know that no woman would do this. But what message does that send? What do you mean I can't be Superman? Because I'm a girl. What does that say to me? How does that build the minds of young girls? When they come into the workforce, do you think it's unusual they feel like I can't be the CEO? I can't be in charge because I can't be Superman? So can we think about this a little different? I mean, it's lovely if that's what you choose. But I choose no, especially in October. So what do we learn? This pink and blue stereotype always spills into activity and abilities. It always spills in. Although there were way more sports options now than it was when I was a kid, we still differentiate between boy sports and girl sports, don't we? The fact is, there's no such thing. There is no such thing as boy sports or girl sports. If we refer to sports and activities such as boy versus girl, then girls will learn it's beyond their reach, and boys will not pursue their passions if it's deemed a girl activity. Maybe a boy would prefer the dance class, and the girl would prefer, I don't know, an auto mechanic class. Maybe. How do you know? Can you imagine Baryshnikov fixing a car? Some real talent. And letting your talent come out, despite whether you're a boy or a girl, should not matter. We should encourage people to find their passion. I remember hearing a story about this school. There was a discussion in this about the second grade class. And in the second grade class, they were confused as to why the little girls didn't raise their hands in a classroom as much as the little boys did. They tried a couple of different little strategies, and nothing really helped. They still raised their hands less. Finally, they figured out that when the teacher was asking a question, the teacher would say, "What do you guys think?" That's very literal to a second grader. What do you guys think? When you change the word to, does anybody think they have the answer, girls are more likely to raise their hands. They still raise their hands less than boys. I'm still willing to bet it's because of those stereotypes. But when you change the verbiage, then we can change the situation. Now, we're all people who are first responders. So I'm sure this is another thing that we have in common. Firemen, policemen, men working above. It's everywhere. If you refer to firemen as firemen, what does that say to women? what does that say if a woman has some sense of authority? That this is where the line is. Firemen. So these words matter in the grand scheme. Policemen. Now, because of the professions that we're in, a lot of times we get sucked right into this, don't we? How many people have gotten sucked into it? Let's be honest. It's just you and me in a room, okay? How many people have got sucked into saying things like firemen without thinking, not with malice, without thinking? How many people have said firemen or policemen when referring to these things? It's all right. It doesn't make you bad people. Raise your hand. This is how you heal, right? Get it out, right? Okay. So, again, it's not something that you're doing with malice. It's just something that we do. So can we change this? The emergency medical services, which I am proudly a member of, is male-dominated. Are we okay with that? It's male-dominated. So terms like, especially in a higher levels or the management area of our profession, lead the men. Work with the brothers. How many of women have heard that before? And how many women are annoyed to all hell when they hear that? Thank you, right? Just one, but a very brave one. Yes. Okay. So, yes, it's annoying. Work with the men. We can do better than this. We can do better than saying work with the men, lead the brothers. We can change that because we're all here and we're all getting a paycheck. We're all doing the same job. We're all standing right next to each other. I think one day I'm going to go start my own company, and that company is going to put only women bathrooms in every first responder, management, house, office, only women bathrooms. So the men have to walk around going, where is that? Where is that place? I don't know, maybe someday. But not until FDNY kicks me out because I love it so much. Can this make women feel excluded? Seriously, what do you think? Can things like that make you feel excluded? Can that make you feel like you don't have a word there, you don't have a voice there, you don't even have an importance there? If they can't say, hey, let's lead the members, let's lead the people, right? Instead of let's lead the men. Yes, I get it. There are more men up in those professions than women, but women are there. And the more you say, let's lead the men, the less women want to be there. So how do we change it? We consider that words do matter. I say yes to all of the above. I think we can change it. I think it bothers people, and I think it bothers you more than most because you're willing to raise your hand. Thank you, right? But I think it's something that is simple if we just make it a conscious choice to change the words that we have. Trust. They learn about trust. Little girls learn about trust growing up, and that's a hard one, right? Because our experiences along the way really kind of set the path for what we're going to believe, and that could be a difficult one. Betrayals can stay with somebody forever. Betrayals of trust can stay with somebody forever. They can change somebody's life. They can be broken. Like, trust can be broken in so many ways that distrust becomes part of a person's fabric. That you learn to just not trust anybody. It's easier that way. Anybody agree with that? Okay. So we're still in the same truck right now. So you know, it becomes part of who you are as a person. And that is not a healthy thing, to not be able to trust the people around you. Trust is very confusing. Trust of boys or trust of men can be affected by a lot of things. It could be the result of witnessing or having been part of a negative interaction. It could be having been bullied. It could be having witnessed or been part of domestic problems, domestic abuse. It can be sexual abuse, sexual assault. All of those things create a lasting imprint in a young girl's mind and a young boy's, because none of those things are only for girls. Boys can experience the same thing. Domestic abuse, sexual assault, bullying, hate, all of those things can create a situation where these people have difficulty trusting others. And how do we undo that? I know that I have personally seen young girls treat each other terribly. Even worse, grown women be horrible to each other in the workplace. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me. Women and girls should understand each other a little better in my world, in my head, because they share similar experiences and challenges. It doesn't make sense to me that they work against each other. That does not compute. But that's what reality is. And when we have women working against women, then who can you trust? So you can't trust the boys, you can't trust the girls, then who do you trust? And if you can't trust anybody, how do you come out of your own shell? How do you get pushed to the top? So trust is a really big issue. Really big issue. What are we teaching our kids about how to treat other girls? Is this a learned behavior, or is this just how we roll? Can we blame the parents? Does the parent have a role in this? Can a parent undo it? It's tough. It's a big question. I don't have the answer. Can we try to do something different so women can support each other and push each other up? And then not only push each other up, but be happy about it. Be happy about another woman's accomplishment. Instead of saying she slept around. Right? Oh yeah, she must be in with the boss. Because it's impossible for her to be the smartest person in the room. She had to have done something different to get to that role. She couldn't have earned it. Right? Can we start to think a little different? Because if we don't, I don't know that we're going to change things around. I had an opportunity, a really, really good opportunity when I was preparing for this, to interview a young, very smart and driven young lady about her own experience in high school with trust. She did give me permission to record her so she could share her story with you. So if you don't mind, I'd like you to just listen to her story.
When I was younger, I wanted nothing more than to go to an all-girl high school. I thought that was the coolest idea in the world. I wouldn't have to worry about what I wore, or what I looked like, or who I was. But unfortunately, I was mistaken. I was always raised to speak my mind, and to not be ashamed about what I had to say, and to stand up for myself. And that was tested when I was in high school. When I went to high school, I found a group of friends. We hung out, we ate lunch together. It was great. But one day they started excluding another girl, and that didn't sit right with me. I had to defend her because she couldn't stand up for herself. I felt like it was my job. Those girls then turned on me for defending an outsider. Throughout high school, the girls that I was with taught me to not trust women. These girls that I thought were going to be my sisters ended up becoming my enemies. I never would have thought that girls would have done that to other girls. I never would have done that. After I graduated high school, it became hard for me to trust women again. And I still struggle to this day to trust women. How could other girls break down girls the way that it happened to me in high school? I was tortured in high school. It made me hate it. I didn't have a love of learning like I used to. I didn't want to leave my house. I didn't want to talk to anyone. After I graduated high school, I found myself still struggling in college. I didn't know how I was going to put faith into another girl. I didn't think she could support me the way that I could support myself. I figured that all the girls in college were out to get me, like it was some sort of competition. But as I see leaders in our world step up for other girls who don't have a voice, It gives me hope again. It makes me want to do something more.
Children and young girls like Maddie and other girls need strong women around them. It's by example that she changes her mind. If there's nobody there that changed her mind, then she will take that sense of distrust into her workplace as an adult. It requires strong men and women to support and change the minds of young children. It doesn't require that you be a family member. This leads us to the next category, value. I wonder if those toys come in blue. I'm not saying that there's something wrong with young girls being taught how to be caretakers or play a supportive role. I'm just saying that the boys should be taught the same thing. It's not just about the girls. Women account for almost half of the workforce. Seems to me both men and women need to learn how to be supportive. Maybe if we mix things up, that this message will be a little bit more clear. All the things we talk about are significant factors when it comes to determining somebody's own value. Stereotyping will never go away. I hope it would, but I really don't think it will. But if committed adults provide positive counter messaging during these critical years, then maybe it can help change someone's perspective. Making girls believe that they are good enough, smart enough, and strong enough will lead to women in the workforce that believe the same thing. I'm a prime example of such a tactic. Now, once women actually get into the workforce, the real struggle begins. There are roadblocks at every corner. The same stereotypes haunt the path to leadership or upper management roles. When a woman comes into this game ready to face these challenges head on, they are more likely to successfully navigate and find their place at the top. Workplace challenges. I think we can agree that workplace challenges require action to overcome them. Being confident, trying to feel confident when you're really not, is a difficult thing. But Amy Cuddy tells us, if you ever watch a TED Talk, she tells us that something called power posing helps. Now, I'm a big fan of power posing because I happen to be Superman. So when you power pose, if you take a few minutes alone, or in public if you're really crazy, right? But if you go in someplace private and you power pose, stand there in a power confidence pose, head up, chin out, shoulders back, Superman pose, it will help you feel more confident. Confidence is something that builds up over time, but it's an active thing that's going to change it. It's not going to happen on its own. You have to actually do something about it. So try to power pose. Another thing, a slow, deep breath every now and again, and maybe some positive self-talk, that doesn't hurt either. But one thing I will tell you is this. While everybody is strutting their feathers around, proving that they are the best, learn as much as you can. Always have the answer. Because if you're the one with the answer, you will get to the front of that pack a whole lot faster. So while they're showing the muscles and telling everybody how great they are, you could be the one that comes in with the actual answer. So learn as much as you can about your business or your topic. Speaking up. Start slow. A lot of people don't like to speak up. Never start your statement with sorry. Don't apologize for your thoughts. Never say, sorry, I hate to interrupt. Sorry, I don't mean this. Sorry. No, I'm not sorry. Right? I have something to say. You should want to hear that. Whether you choose to stay is your own business. You could turn around and run out screaming, for all I care. Right? But how odd would that be? So start coming up with some fallback phrases that maybe you can put out there to start a conversation to help you learn how to speak up. Being isolated and feeling invisible, that's all about coming out of your comfort zone and gaining a sense of presence and going out there and introducing yourself. I'd say introduce yourself to one new person a day for no other reason than you want to practice. You'll gain friends, you'll gain confidence, and maybe those people will be a pivot person for you somewhere down the road. Being treated equally, not as easy as it's, that's a hard one. I find forcing the issue keeps people on their toes and makes them either say yes or no. So when when you volunteer or you put something at, hey, look, I would like to take on that project, and they have to say no, that puts a whole different spin on it. So being treated equally doesn't always mean being treated easily, right? Understand that when you want to be treated equally, sometimes you get the same level of harsh as everybody else gets, and that should be okay, right? Equal is equal. If you want to be treated like a flower, then we're probably living off this list. So let's not do that. Which is why I never let anybody call me Lily. My name is Lillian. They always want to cut this down. I don't understand. Do I look like a flower to you? I don't think so, right? Why? Don't let it happen. Getting promotions. Getting promotions is hard. Ask for it. Ask for the promotion. First, you got to believe you deserve the promotion. If you go in there, oh, I wish I could, if I would, if you wanted to. No. If you think you deserve the promotion, then you have to get that promotion. Ask for it. Get in there. Make sure that more than one person knows that you want a promotion, so that maybe somebody can lobby for you and be on your side. Don't box yourself into that gender list. Bonding with other women. You got to take a chance. You just have to take a chance. I know it's tough. I know it is. But I would not be here if it wasn't for trust and bonding of women. I would not be here. Remember that you are 50% of the problem, right? So you can change it. It's just going to require that you get out there and be a little nervous. Give somebody a chance. Have honest conversation. When things start to go off the rails, try to bring it back. Not an easy thing. I understand this. Finding men to trust. Men are not the problem. Men are the solution. We need men to stand with us. We need men to lobby for us. We need to make sure that these fathers and husbands and brothers and uncles are standing up for the young girls in this system. We need to get men on our side. Men should be equally frustrated and outraged about the differences that exist as far as women and men in the workplace. It's not just a woman's problem. Men need to use their influence to keep an equal workplace, to influence their other men in that place to see things differently. You, half of you at least, are men. You stood up. You are the kind of men that we need. Somebody who's going to be active in our struggle, not somebody who is going to turn a blind eye. Obstacles. Gender inequality. That's tough. 50%. According to leanin.org, 50% of men believe that women are well represented at the top when they see just a few. If they see one or two, we're good. We got women. No, we got them. How many? Like 2. Right? So it's not enough. It's just not enough. We need men to try to change how they think. That glass ceiling, man, that's a tough one. How do we overcome that glass ceiling? I wish I had the answer. 4.6. 4.6. Low number, yeah? 4.6, according to AmericanProgress.org. 4.6 of the Fortune 500 are women CEOs. 4.6 out of 500 companies. It's crazy. They're half of the workforce. Sexual harassment. 25%, according to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, 25% have experienced sexual harassment in the workplace. 1 out of every 4. 1 out of every 4. If the fourth person in every row stood up, those are your girls. Those are the ones we talked about. 1 out of 4 people in this room, your girls, the ones you stood up for, are being sexually harassed in a workplace. This is how prevalent this is. And what keeps it there? Silence. Silence keeps it there. They're betting on silence. How do we change that? Change the silence, right? The pay gap. Pay gap, I can't even explain pay gap, right? We're not living in the olden days where men had to, like, support the family now. I mean, half the workforce is women. We're still working on it. I would say this, when it comes to sexual harassment and pay gap, these are big issues. I always would recommend this. Just consider that when we come to sexual harassment, you follow this you, me, and three approach. As soon as somebody oversteps that line, that workplace line, and into the harassment arena, you say, now the people that are going to know about this is you, me, and the three people I'm about to tell. And then tell. Don't be silent. That's what keeps us in this position. It's a bet, and they win every time. 79%, according to the Department of Labor, women who work full-time, year-round in 2017, earned 79% of what a man earns. It's tough if you're the stay-home dad, right? Your wife or your partner's out there. This is a little bit hard to see, but this is EMS and paramedics. EMS and paramedics, 1/3 of the workforce is female. And they still make less than the men. Firefighters, you see the little blue sliver on top? 4.5%, that's how many females are firefighters. We can do better. I'm sure we can. Here's something I can offer you. Take it or leave it, it's up to you. But it's based on my own experience. Stand up. Stand up to lead. Stay. Stay engaged, stay committed, stay dedicated. And more importantly, find something you love and stay there. You can't get to the top if you change jobs every 2 years. Find something and commit yourself and then follow that path to the top. Right? So stay there. Talk. Talk to people. Talk to everybody. Talk to people about what your thoughts are, where you want to be in your career, what you believe. Talk to people. You can't get to the top by taking a back seat. You got to get out there. You got to get out there. You got to make sure that people know what you're about, who you are. Act. Act like a leader. Act like a leader. Act like your level of responsibility is higher than all those around you. This means that you need to have presence. Use your body to set the tone. I'll tell you one thing that it drives me insane, and maybe some of you understand this. When you come to meet somebody and they shake your hand and kiss you, that drives me nuts. Especially when I'm standing next to another male staff chief, because they don't get a kiss, right? They don't get a kiss. They get a handshake, I get a kiss. Why? It's not like we're having Christmas dinner together, right? So I developed this thing. It's called the shake, lock, and push. And ladies, feel free to make this your own. This is how it works. When you walk in, you extend your hand. How are you? Nice and far out. Not like in your personal space. How are you? Shake, lock the elbow, and when they come in for the kiss, lock. Right? You're gonna just push. You push back just a little bit. So they're like, right? Shake, lock, and push. It is yours. I want you to use it. I want you to use it. Act like a leader. Yes. So you know, that's your move. You can put it in your pocket. Teach it to your daughters when they start talking. Shake my hand, little girl. Come on. We're going to practice. Okay? Act like a leader. I tried this at home. When I first got promoted, I said, on your feet, people, the chief is home. And I got, hey, chief, take that garbage out, will you? Gosh. But certainly when you're outside your home, act like the leader in the room. Make sure people understand. No, right? End means no. You can use that word. It's okay. You have now gotten permission to use that word. When you mean no, say no. Don't say, I'll think about it. Well, that's a good idea. No, say no. No, you can't treat me like that. No, I will not do that. No, I'm not comfortable with that. Use the word no. All right? Don't be afraid. There are laws that protect you. Doors is the D. Doors. Look for doors. I don't mean literal doors. If you're looking for literal doors and something's going wrong, then I say, go for that door. Right? If something's happening, go for the door. What I mean is opportunities. Look for the opportunities. Look for the things that come your way. There are people and things that get placed in your path, in your life, for a reason. Why they're there, you don't know. but they're there. You may not figure it out till later on. The last time a door opened for me, I ended up on this stage. So when you see a door, it's there for a reason. Walk through it. The worst that can happen is you leave here with credits, right? U is utilize. Utilize resources. So many women turn down opportunities because somebody else is more deserving. Utilize the resources around you. There are lots of resources out there to help women move up in the world, to move up in their own professions, to educate themselves, to do things that are going to be beneficial to their development. Don't pass up those opportunities. Don't give them up to somebody else. And P, finally, is permission. Give yourself permission to succeed. Give yourself permission to be different. Give yourself permission to be better than you think you are, to break out of these gender stereotypes, to do everything that your heart desires. You must give yourself permission to do that. And when it's hard, you cannot quit. You can't overcome these things if you quit. The more you're willing to take it on, the more people are willing to back off. It's all about a challenge. Give yourself permission. That's my dog, because who doesn't like dogs? All right, so stand up, right? Stand up, stay, talk, act, say no, look for doors, utilize, give yourself permission.
Mom.
Do that.
Mom.
Hey, Maddie, what's up?
Mom, is it really going to be okay?
It's going to be fine, Maddie. It's going to be fine.
So I don't have to worry?
You don't have to worry, because every one of these people are going to stand up for you. Do things different. Have a great day.